Today I want to talk about Kristi Noem, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. You probably know many of the Trump nominees, now confirmed cabinet officials, but you may not know some of them all that well. So this is part of a series of getting to know the Trump cabinet. Kristi Noem started out in South Dakota. She was a state legislator there and later became the governor of South Dakota after serving for a time in the House of Representatives. In the House where I served with her, she was a far-right Republican known for her co-sponsorship of a bill to outlaw abortion, a federal abortion ban. But she becomes governor, and among her notable episodes as governor, and something that would foreshadow things to come, was, well, this episode of reality TV. Here's Governor Noem on an official website doing an infomercial for her dentist.
Well, hi, I'm Kristi Noem. I'm the governor of South Dakota and had the opportunity to come to Smile, Texas to fix my teeth, which has been absolutely amazing. For years, I have needed to have an adjustment to my teeth from a biking accident, and they have been absolutely phenomenal.
Now, this infomercial goes on for almost 5 minutes. I'm not going to make you suffer through watching the whole thing, but this is done as governor on government resources. But perhaps even better known of her tenure as governor was her autobiography, where she made the revelation that she shot her puppy, a dog named Cricket, which she found not suitable for training and therefore suitable for killing. And here's how that story was broken by at least one news outlet.
South Dakota Governor and Trump's potential VP pick, Kristi Noem, is being criticized for writing in her memoir about shooting her 14-month-old puppy, Cricket.
But don't take it from Weekend Update alone. Here's Cricket number 7 in his own words.
The dog was the problem. Barking, eating every day. Who does that? If she didn't kill him, I would.
Wow, so you're Team Kristi.
Team Kristi for life, for my very long life. Please, I love you, Kristi.
So that story that she wrote about shooting her own dog may have cost her the vice presidency under Donald Trump. He then moved on to other candidates. There were other notable things about Kristi Noem's autobiography, mostly notable because they were just plain fabricated, invented, and false. There was, for example, the meeting with Kim Jong-un that Kristi Noem wrote about, except that she never actually met with Kim Jong-un. There was the time that she canceled a meeting with the president of France, except for the fact that France says she never had a meeting, scheduled or otherwise, with the president of France. But the consolation prize for Kristi Noem was to be appointed the head of the Department of Homeland Security. This is an agency that has incredibly broad jurisdiction, amazingly important responsibilities, including predominantly keeping the country safe, but it also has responsibility over immigration and migration and border issues. So you would think that we would have someone of great seriousness, someone who would bring the necessary thought and intellect and determination to protecting the country to the job. But Kristi Noem instead has found a penchant for her own brand of Trump reality TV in which she gets to dress up as different characters for the camera. So here's Kristi Noem on horseback, acting like a Border Patrol agent. And here's Kristi Noem in a leather jacket pretending to be a co-pilot in a Coast Guard aircraft. Here's Kristi Noem wearing a bulletproof vest for what looks like an episode of Cops. And here's Kristi Noem in what I think is probably the most offensive episode of reality TV dress up, standing in front of inmates at the El Salvador maximum security prison. Oh, and by the way, as she's using those prisoners as a backdrop, that watch on her arm, this one right here, that's a $50,000 Rolex, which is probably not what the costume designers had in mind for that particular shot. But it's not just her penchant for dress-up in reality TV that has characterized her tenure at DHS. Rather, it has been the draconian and cruel immigration policy of the department that she oversees, of the administration's policy. A policy that has divided families and caused unquestionable heartbreak, a policy that has violated court orders, a policy that has sent people to maximum security prisons outside the country in violation of court orders, a policy that has refused to remedy their mistakes, a policy that is causing heartbreak every day. I've met with people who have been deeply and adversely impacted by Kristi Noem and the draconian policies of this administration. I've met with farm workers, young children of farm workers who've had their fathers taken away from them. I've met with wives who've had their husbands pulled out of cars at traffic stops or at gas stations and deported. None of these folks, none of them had a criminal record. These were people who had been toiling in the fields through heat and cold, through pandemic and non-pandemic, to put food on our table. And yet these families are separated, these children are permanently scarred by the actions of this administration. Kristi Noem has demonstrated in her short tenure she doesn't know the first thing about due process. Here she is testifying before the Senate.
So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right
let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
That's right, she has no idea what habeas corpus is, and nor does she seem particularly to care. That was Senator Maggie Hassan. Here's Senator Chris Murphy detailing just some of the serious flaws in her administration of DHS.
I say this with seriousness and respect, but your department is out of control. You are spending like you don't have a budget. You're on the verge of running out of money for the fiscal year. You are illegally refusing to spend funds that have been authorized by this Congress and appropriated by this committee. You are ignoring the immigration laws of this nation, implementing a brand new immigration system that you have invented that has little relation to the statutes that you are required, that you are commanded to follow, as spelled out in your oath of office. You are routinely violating the rights of immigrants who may not be citizens, but whether you like it or not, they have constitutional and statutory rights when they reside in the United States. Your agency acts as if laws don't matter, as if the election gave you some mandate to violate the Constitution and the laws passed by this Congress. It did not give you that mandate. You act as if your disagreement with the law, or even the public's disagreement with the law, is relevant and gives you the ability to create your own law. It does not give you that ability.
But probably the most egregious plans the department may have for this kind of reality TV department involves the makers of Duck Dynasty.
You better hurry up, Si. I'm gonna leave without you. That's good.
Hey! 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 What are you doing?
Who have pitched DHS on a Survivor-like show in which people who are applying for citizenship are put through a series of demeaning tests, like panning for gold or building a car or some other kind of crazy experiment in the worst form of television. They would presumably pick people up at Ellis Island, put them on a train, test them in various ways. People would be eliminated from the train, and ultimately, I suppose, the train arrives at the destination of citizenship. Only Kristi Noem would consider such a warped idea as that one. So her tenure at DHS has been characterized by cruelty, has been characterized by lawlessness. Yes, it's been characterized by these bizarre dress-up sessions, but most particularly, it has nothing to do with keeping America safe.